GNT show is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. These are the voyages of the GNT show. Our continuing mission to explore Star Trek storytelling, to seek out new worlds and interesting characters, to Boliga, where no show has gone before. Live long and prosper, bitches.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the G&T Show, episode 286. I'm Terry Lynn, and across the table is the man and the mystery, Gettysburg 7.
Joel Untrue, Megan's Listers. I don't know. Hey, sup? Sup? You with the gifts. How you doing? Across from me, combing his beard, Ceridium. Why am I talking like Jim Rome? I don't know.
What was that?
He caplod.
He did, okay.
He caplod.
He's so cute. He's so tired. He kaplotzed. Kaplat. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Kitty.
That's so wrong. They
That's
start
awesome.
off the show with a gif that just, oh, no.
Pusheen.
Pusheen, not good.
The Pusheen kitty doing its Tony Montana impression.
Oh, my God.
Nice.
Kitty.
No, that's Coke, Mike. That's Coke.
Not in this part of the country.
Pusheen, don't do meth. It's too high class for meth.
That shit'll fuck you up, man.
In this part of the country, it would be a meth kitty.
Oh, man.
Say hello to the bad kitty.
Say hello to my little pussy. I'm not going there. I just did.
So, Terry.
Yeah.
So, Terry, what did you do this week?
What did you do this week? Coffee clutch.
What did I do?
Wow, Nick is the one that's moving the show forward.
I know, right?
What the fuck is wrong with us?
I had coffee. It's good coffee. It's good coffee. I worked this week. I played a lot of Lotro of Lord of the Rings Online just because it was getting ready for the new expansion that's coming out. So I'm getting my main character all ready for that. It's been very, very fun. And then kind of hung out with Alan. It was nice. What about you?
Mike?
I overslept this morning. Brain is not functional. Let's see. I wrote a little bit on Friday. I remember that much.
Was that the name of a new story, A Little Bit on Friday?
No, I'm still working on the one for The Longest Night Watch. So this one is called Unstuck.
Cool.
It's about a zipper.
No.
Wait, what?
It's not.
It's not.
Okay.
But
well, I wouldn't put it past you.
but I thought it would be a funny joke, zippers and unstuck, and I don't know. My brain's still in bed. The boys, my brother and sister-in-law, they're celebrating their 7th or 10th anniversary. So they went to Cancun. So,
oh, that's nice.
Congratulations to them. And I've had the boys here for day 3, 4.
Are they sleeping right now?
I certainly hope so, because they weren't sleeping last night. And hence why I overslept and am tired today.
Mike, I have 3 words for you. Benadryl.
Benadryl.
It was cool. Then apparently, right after I laid down, there was a problem with Netflix, so I fixed that and went back to bed. And I don't know at what time it was, but I woke up to the sound of one of them crying and bawling, and I could not go back to sleep. I have no idea why.
Oh, they read the script, huh?
So, yeah, it's been like one big blur, sadly.
Oh, I'm sorry, but we
No,
know
don't
it.
be.
We know what Nick did yesterday. Do you want to fill us in, or do you want to talk about it later, or what?
It's up to you.
Before yesterday, what did you do, Nick?
Before you, what did I do? Well, we had the 4th.
Oh, that's right. We were at home.
Well,
We did laundry.
Well, it was very nice. My lovely wife and I, we went down to this called the C&O Canal. It's the canal that runs down through part of West Virginia and Maryland, all the way into Georgetown, and it was where they the boats would go up and down, bringing coal and supplies and everything back, all the way up through past 1910. It was basically a highway on the water. So it's very cool. So we walked the canal for a while, and we had a nice little picnic. And then that night we went to the fireworks at the little town just up the road from us.
Oh,
So
that's
that was
nice.
very nice. Very nice spending the day with my bride.
Oh, very cool. What the hell?
I don't know. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, that was on Nick's end? Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of the dogs bursting through the child gates at your house, Terry.
Nope, it wasn't. Although that's exactly what it sounded like,
That's
right?
exactly what it sounded like.
What did it sound like?
It sounded like one of my dogs knocking over we have the kitty gates, the children gates. It sounded like one of the dogs knocked one of those over. What was it?
It was the kitty knocking over a pile of stuff.
Okay.
And then the wife
it was
yelling,
animal related.
Yeah, then the wife yelling, Mochi! And then, I worked all week, so there was that.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
And let's see, I don't know. I sent you guys a message earlier on our staff meeting channel saying I'll be there in a minute, and that was like at 9 o'clock. That's because I had just woke up. So
okay, so yay, we're all just on top form this morning.
Yeah,
I reserve the right to add on to Coffee Clutch at a later time once my brain starts activating.
Okay, deal.
I don't know. Hold on. Has there been a quorum? Quorum? Has there been a quorum, Mike?
Yes.
No. All right. Can you hear her yelling, playing with the cat in the background?
Not very
All
well.
I'm hearing is, get it.
So yesterday, Nick got to attend the Shore Leave Convention in Baltimore, correct?
Timonium, yeah, just outside of
Baltimore,
yeah.
And did a few Facebook Live sessions from there.
Yes.
But I didn't get to watch the second one. I was watching the first one. Looked pretty fun. So why don't you fill us in on what happened?
Well, I got a kiss on the cheek from Joe Colton, so nothing more needs to be said. No, it was great. Got to spend a lot of time with Scott Pearson and Ella. So that's something I look so forward to. Yeah, Terry, you'll have to watch the second video because Ella's on it.
Yay!
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's what, in college now?
She's 19 now.
Oh my God.
I know. It's like, I can't even believe it. As a matter of fact, we talk about that she's no longer the kid. She's Ella.
She's Ella, yeah.
And it was that's one of the reasons I love Shore Leave is because I get to see those two. Saw Dayton, hung out with him for a little bit. He's full of Dayton goodness.
Yep.
It was Jay Galloway. It was on my personal Facebook site. I have to figure out how to do it from the show site.
Yeah, we're learning. We're still kind of noobs at that.
Trust me, this is like the second time I've done it, and the first time I did it, I had just learned. Somebody at the convention I was at showed me how to do it. So I was proud that I figured it out on my own again this time. Saw Dave Mack. Saw a really good panel with, let's see, it had Richard White. Dave Mack was the moderator. The lovely Jennifer Rosenberg, Aaron Rosenberg's wife. Mary Fox was, I think, her name. I'm getting her name wrong. She's just really cool. And Glenn Hoffman, the topic was, does fiction go too easy on evil?
Yeah, I wanted to know more about that. What was the aspects? What were the aspects of the conversation? Because it sounded like an interesting title.
Oh, it really was. In our comics and movies and TV and all of that, let me sum it up in 2 words. Hans Gruber.
Okay.
From Die Hard.
Yeah.
You know how many people rooted for him?
Oh, I know.
And the thing is have they gone to the villains now are, not just now, but are written, they're always, not always, but suave, articulate, well-dressed, the whole thing, and smarter than our plucky hero, so it makes it that much more root-worthy for a plucky hero to come back against them and things like that. So it was very interesting talking about, evil is not really written as evil. It's not.
Of course, this is
And
the
Glenn,
era of the
well, you would think that might,
antagonistic protagonist.
but they went on the thing all the way back. I mean, Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes.
Well, yeah, he was always the one thing about Moriarty was that he was the first real intelligent villain and an equal to Holmes. But there was no denying how evil he was.
Right.
I don't think anybody roots or tends to root for Moriarty. But it does bring up a good question, and that is something that we've all been talking about and had talked about once before, and that is, don't you just fall into, if you don't do that, or do you fall into the trappings of a two-dimensional villain like we've been bitching about in Star Trek in the new movies?
Well, and it was funny because there was talk of Man in the High Castle, and I know, Terry, you haven't watched it, but Mike and I have. Mike Obergruppen Smith should be somebody that really don't care about, and yet because of his son's situation, there's an emotional connection with that character, which, in a large part, much like Hans Gruber, is the actor. The actor is so important in film, because let's face it, if Alan Rickman hadn't played Hans Gruber, he may not have been such a cool character.
That's very true.
And it brought up, Richard White said he thinks J.K. Rowling would deny it, but starting with the fourth book on, Snape started to change, and that was after the first two movies had come out. And what was it about Snape in the movies? He was played by Alan Rickman and made likable. Even if you didn't like him, you couldn't help, because Alan Rickman just has so much charisma.
Well, that's a really good point. And I think that while she wrote the ending of the book first,
right?
So we all know that what she intended for Snape from the very beginning. Be that as it may, I do think that Alan Rickman changed the way she portrayed his personality in the books.
I think it also changed how the audience, we all had, see, I read all the books before I saw the movies, so I didn't have Alan Rickman in my head. But if it was like you and Alan,
oh God,
did it change how you saw Snape when you read
absolutely.
it?
Absolutely. I read him as Snape in the books.
I don't know. Sunsail says charisma and Snape are not words that go together, but yeah, I think definitely. Every time Alan Rickman was on screen, there was a charisma and a draw.
I would say gravitas as well. Yes.
Yeah, gravitas. Yeah.
This is a case of art imitating, or life imitating art, or I don't know.
Well, Kojiro says a good actor playing a well-written villain doesn't play villain. They act as if their character is the protagonist and is justified in everything they do. And that's what we've talked about before, and that is a villain isn't interesting unless you can connect with them on some level.
Well,
doesn't mean you have to agree with them. You have to connect with them on some level in order to avoid the two-dimensional villain problem.
Which brings me to a related squirrel. It's an actual related squirrel, Terry.
Yay.
Speaking of villains like that, so my wife, God bless her, she indulges my hobby. Thursday night, she came to me and she said, "Hey, you left this on your desk," and it was and she had gotten me a ticket for Friday for me to go see Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Okay.
She was telling me I left it on my desk because she's a silly goose. Mike, have you seen it yet?
I have not.
Okay. And Terry, I know you haven't yet.
Not yet, but I'm hearing good things.
Oh, it's phenomenal. But first of all, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton could read the phone book, and I would love him. And this goes, all the way back to Mr. Mom. But he plays the Vulture. It is so nice, and I'm gonna say a little Hold on.
I'm wondering, have you guys? I've seen the film, The Birdman. Have you guys seen that?
I have not, and Dayton yelled at me for not seeing it.
So I mean, he plays a superhero in which, kind of like an actor who played the role of a superhero,
like an Adam West, right?
Kind of, yeah. Except it's more of the more recent Batman than the classic Batman. But yeah. Or the 1980 or 89 version of Batman.
No, but I mean like Adam West.
But yeah,
himself.
he's kind of become a synonymous with the role, and essentially has a almost like a mental breakdown in the process. But
because he gets typecast.
yeah, and he starts almost believing it himself. But anyways, but here he is playing another Birdman, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Okay, the Vulture.
Yeah.
But the thing about his character, the Vulture, is he's not out to destroy the planet. He's not out to destroy a city. He's not out to destroy anything. His motivation is totally, completely based in something we all can relate to.
Okay.
Trying to take care of his family. And he really is, in his mind, the hero, which I think it's a lesson for people who want to write a villain who is understandable. And of course, I think Michael Keaton just takes it over the top because of his ability, as an actor. There's a scene where he's talking in a car to somebody, and Kevin Dillmore and I were talking back and forth about it, and it is a scary scene because of the power of Michael Keaton. But yeah, so that's what Terry, you were talking about the whole villain thing, and who thinks he's who he believes he's the protagonist and not the antagonist. But a Safari of Soliloquies.
No, the Birdman is a monologuist.
Monologist's wet dream. It's
for some reason, I was reading it in like much differently, and I was going, "That's not what he means. That's not."
I thought it was a Portuguese word.
No, I thought he was insulting people.
Oh,
well, but it might be, but.
So yeah, so it was a very interesting discussion, and we talked about Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham. Was Robin Hood the good guy or the bad guy? And Richard White brought up, in reality, people like John Dillinger, who public rooted for.
Yeah.
Or Alphonse Capone. Even though there was I think a deep anti-Italian bias, which survives to this day. But did we root for Michael Corleone? Did we root for who rooted for Tony? How could you root for Tony Montana? But yet audiences did.
And what's so funny is that you're getting right to the heart of what I have a problem with many films, right? I don't root for bad people. I don't like movies about bad people. I hate the Godfather series. I just hate it.
Whoa. Hold on. I wish we had screeching tire sound effects. If Steve were here, he'd find it somehow, I'm sure.
What happened?
You hate the Godfather movies?
I do. I don't like shows
this is our last episode,
about unredeemable people.
This is our last episode. What do you mean unredeemable?
Are they? Are any of those people redeemable? Aren't they all evil?
Did you see the third one, Michael?
Yeah. Oh, my God. Ask Alan about the third one.
Well, the third one had many problems, starting with Sofia Coppola's acting.
Jake Galloway, I didn't even go out to see Suicide Squad. Why? Because it's about a bunch of assholes. I didn't go see the Watchmen. I didn't go see. No, fuck that.
The Watchmen were not assholes.
Oh my God, you're kidding, right?
No.
Okay, so a rapist is a superhero?
He was one character on the team, and they all.
I don't need to spend money watching about somebody. No, fuck that.
So hold on. Did you watch Star Trek 09?
I did.
Kirk's an asshole.
He is a dick. And did I adore Star Trek 2009? What did I say about Kirk?
What did
I say about what they did to spoil Kirk? Kirk isn't the hardworking, studious person that we knew from the show. They turned him into a dipshit, teenage, angsty bullshit artist, and I don't like him. I think.
Wait a minute. Oh, let me ask you a question. Did you see the Batman films, the Christopher Nolan films?
Which ones were these, please?
Dark Knight and
I saw the Dark Knight.
Okay.
I got through it.
Do you like Batman?
I tolerate. You know what's funny? You're gonna laugh. I like Tim Burton's Batman.
Okay, that's a great example.
I prefer Batman, Superman. I still do. Although
you're sleepy, so
although the most recent version just kind of sucks, anyways.
But Batman is not a good character.
No,
he's a bad person.
Yeah, he is. He's a vendetta. He's just a vendetta guy, right?
With fancy toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. But to be honest with you, I haven't spent money on another Batman movie ever since.
I'm shaking my head. You can't see it, but I'm shaking my head.
Alan has. Alan went out and got
Because
some, but I
Alan
wouldn't.
is a great American. That's why. Speaking of which, Alan, I was thinking of Alan last night because I was watching. Well, here's a squirrel. It's just. I forget the name of the series, but it's on Amazon where they follow the Los Angeles Rams their first year back in Los Angeles in 2016, and I had forgotten that in week 2 they beat the Seahawks like 6-3 or 9-6, and I was really surprised by that. And
So somebody asked me if I saw the Lego Batman, and I have to say, Lego Batman cracks me up because he's almost like a parody of the Batman, right? He's supposed to be a dick because,
Lego
but
Batman.
that's funny shit.
Yeah, it's
He's
Will
making-
Arnett.
That's
so.
funny.
And yeah, and let's see, in Lego Dimensions, I mean, it's even more hilarious because there's 2 Batman. There's the Batman from the Lego movie, which is a klutz. And then there's the Lego Batman movie, Lego Batman.
You know what I love,
And
Terry?
he's badass.
You know what I love? All we have to do is mention Lego, and we can get Mike on a squirrel for a half an hour because he has been so immersed into the Lego
I
Dimensions.
love it. It's so
I
cute.
love it.
He does love it, and I think that's awesome. And he
Yeah.
gets to spend time with his nephews and niece,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
very
just have a great time.
And I have to tell you, my daughter, who, as you know, is now 13.
Oh my
when did
God.
that happen? Texted me. She was gushing over Spider-Man. She loves it. And then in the middle of it all, she all of a sudden, she's her father's daughter. She was like, "Oh my God, and I can't wait for Black Panther. How cool does that look?"
Doesn't it? I'm still tingling about the Black Panther trailer. I was like, oh my God, that looks amazing.
Fucking Andy Serkis.
Oh, I know.
He's so funny. But
He's-
but yeah, and we also talked in that panel. But they talked about Darth Vader.
Oh,
And Dave Mack talked about his problem with Return of the Jedi. Wow, because Darth Vader killed the Emperor, suddenly he's redeemed. If you look at everything else he's done.
I'm sorry. If he were my dad, saving my life or not, I don't think I would be as forgiving as Luke. I have to admit. But Luke,
You know,
I
this
guess,
is the
was
same
always
guy that
saying,
cut
"I always
up a
felt the
room."
good. I always felt the good." I always
Yeah.
thought, "Wow, Luke, dude, really?
Same guy that cut up a room full of kids.
Kids, right?"
Yeah. But he killed the Emperor, so look at him, he's redeemed. And I brought up the Rob Zombie part of the beauty of the original Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, was Michael Myers never said a word. He was just the shape, right? He was just this entity walking around doing this. Then Rob Zombie had to expand on the backstory and tell us about his past. And no, sometimes you just want the bad guy to be, you don't want to identify with him in any way. The fun of Halloween was he's just evil, right? Yeah, same with Jason Voorhees.
Okay. So my question is what did the panel consider to be being too easy on evil? That by making them relatable, that was being too easy on them?
No, it wasn't too easy. It was just, it really got into some deep stuff like the Bible stories from the Bible, and David versus Goliath, and like with the Sopranos. In some ways, Tony Soprano is the underdog. So it talked about the very American thing of rooting for the underdog. Where if you look at things like Eastern literature and things, the heroes are things that we in the West would consider to be just I'm here to save the day because they're the expert swordsman and all of that. But their culture, that's what they. Whereas with our culture here, maybe because of the spreading out west and people were against hard environments and things like that, where we root for the underdog. So it's very, very interesting, and it went in a lot of different directions. Like, how do you make a, there's very real evil in the world, but like Glenn Hoffman said, some of the greatest evil in the world, how would you write a Bernie Madoff or people like him who commit these, or even worse, not even a Bernie Madoff, just people who are identity scammers and things like that, who are evil, who just don't care about what they do to other people's lives.
Right.
And that's evil. They're bad people.
Right.
So things like that.
It's hard see, and on that kind of, I guess to me it depends on the kind of level of villainy you're talking about. Are you talking global or interplanetary villainy? Because then you've got to be talking about big ideas,
Yeah, then
right?
you're talking to Thanos or
Right.
the Empire. And, Dave Mack brought up, was the Empire evil? Geez, the Empire was administrating things. They had commerce was running, because if you go back to the prequels, how it all started and everything, and then here comes the rebellion, who blow up 2 space stations, and suddenly you get to episode 7 and the galaxy is plunged into chaos because of the actions of the rebels. Now you have these splinter little groups like the First Order and all of this. So really, did the rebels do good?
I know. It's an interesting aspect to it. There's that, again, because you're talking about geopolitical or interspace. When you're talking about political villainy, then you take on this idea of, it's easy to place yourself in the role of rebel or the role of what's the right term for it?
Guerrilla
or the
resist
Freedom fighter.
yeah,
no, do you
resistance.
take on the opposite, meaning the
Yeah.
the status quo or the structured
Bureaucrat.
social realm, or the regime, so to speak. And it's interesting because I think Americans, and this is gonna go, here we go, we're going deep, guys. And before we get there, Mike, I liked the Sleeping Beauty Maleficent, but only when she was a dragon and she dies, man, that was awesome. Okay. Is this idea that it's easier to to understand or to relate to the rebellion of any situation, right? The underdog, Americans especially, because that was exactly how our country was founded, and we were indoctrinated with the idea that we were born of rebellion. I think that's the case with pretty much everybody. It's a human need to be able to freedom fight
the power.
Is to fight the power, to fight for your freedoms, whatever you believe those freedoms to be.
And that brings up a good point, Terry, because when people say, in something that's very current, how can you have a statue, because I live in the South,
right,
of Confederate general in your town? Many of those guys weren't looking at it from a large, they were fighting the power of a big federal government, which was opposite of what you can get into the whole slavery issue,
crimping on their they believe their freedoms were being crimped. Absolutely.
Yeah, that the states were supposed to be, we were founded on states with the power and federal government with limited power, and now the federal government was imposing all this power. And for some farmer in Tennessee, it wasn't about big, brutal ideals. It was about, hey, these guys are marching into our neighborhood, So it turns into that, what you were talking about. Again, we were founded on fighting the power, and then we had a civil war about half of the country fighting the power of that fought the power.
Yeah, and it can be used and twisted in any direction. So when you're talking about villainy on that global or political scale, it's very, very easy to relate to the supposed villain, or vice versa, the actual rebel. It just depends on your point of view, right? That's why it's easy and that's why I think it's easy to write for villainy on that grander scale.
Right.
I think the point of having somebody who is evil for evil purposes, i.e., like you said, a Bernie Madoff or a
Dr. Evil,
just doing shit to fuck somebody's life over, those people are really, really easy to write about, I would think, and they would be bitched about as being two-dimensional.
Right. And that's what made Heath Ledger's Joker so compelling. He was pushing by doing evil things to see if he could push Batman over the edge,
and
to show that they were not different.
No, and also too is dealing with the mental health aspects of insanity like that.
Right.
That's where he went. That was
and Glenn Hoffman brought up, and Mike, you would have loved it. Mike's beard would have been erect. The problem, well, there's so many. But with Into Darkness, with Khan, he said, and this is something we've said, it shouldn't have been Khan, it should have been Joaquin protecting Khan and the others. It would have changed the dynamic totally and
I
made
would
that
have liked
character.
that a whole lot better.
Yeah, and it would have changed the dynamic totally and made it a far more. Because let's face it, we all went, ugh, that it was Khan. Had it been Joaquin, first of all, it would have made more sense to be Benedict Cumberbatch. And secondly, that motivation would have been way more acceptable.
Okay.
So it was an interesting take on that. But I thought of Mikey as soon as he started, when he said, well, in Into Darkness, and I knew where he was going to go, and I thought of Mikey.
As far as Mikey there.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I was waiting for you to make your point.
Yeah, because Mike said he would love that.
I was trying to. I was
done. Sorry.
Oh.
I'm just gonna. He's right.
Yeah, I mean, anything would have been better than Khan at that point. It just didn't make sense for it to be Khan. I mean, the guy's name was help me,
Harrison.
John Harrison.
Harrison.
I mean, if they had kept it that way, perfect. If they had gone with Joaquin the entire time, even better. But they made decisions and decided to throw Khan in there. And the way they did it, it was an afterthought. There was no thought in it except, let's throw the Trekkies a bone, and it was a bad bone.
I think we all agreed, J.L. Galloway, that it would have been a better movie had it not been Khan. If it had just been Harrison, and if they'd come up with. And again, I even say you could have kept it about the augments. It could have been an augment story, but it didn't have to be Khan. It could have been Harrison being like Khan's protege. He
was one of Khan's 73 people that we saw in Space Seed.
Exactly. They had like protecting 72 other people that we'd never met.
And could have been one of, several things shot out into space trying to get rid of them from Earth. It didn't matter. But I just making it Khan was it was just service. It was supposed fan service, and it fell flat.
And the fans rejected such service. Now the other thing, Terry and Mike, I posted a picture of it on Twitter, and I was retweeted by Marina Sirtis. Thank you.
Oh.
Her and Dorney were on stage together.
I heard. Okay, cool.
Oh my God, she is just.
Yeah, I love her.
You think she's bad at Vegas?
Yeah.
She is such a force of nature. At one point, she was talking so much, Dorn got up and walked off stage. But he was looking for the bathroom. But
they're best friends, everybody.
Oh yeah.
Just so you know, and Michael Dorn are best friends.
Mike. Dorn told a story that I hadn't heard him tell before, and Marina had not heard him tell before. Do you know who designed the batlith and the mechlith, is it?
That's how you pronounce it, but I don't know who designed it. Mike, do you?
I don't. I assumed it was the on-set designer.
That's what we all assumed. It was Michael Dorn.
Oh, really?
Really?
He sat down, because somebody asked about the Tai Chi influence for like Worf's calisthenics and stuff and the way he fought, and Dorn said they came up with that, him and a stunt guy, because quite frankly they were tired of Worf getting his ass kicked in the first 2 seasons by everybody in a cliched attempt to show how tough the enemy was by beating up Worf. And then they sat down and they designed the batlith and all these other things to come up with the movements. So yeah, Marina was like, even I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah. But Terry, she was killing. There was like 5 minutes left in the panel, and people were getting up to leave, and somebody was asking a question. She's like, "Hold on, darling. Where are you going? Where are you going? We are not done. What? You think I don't remember you? You're not getting an autograph." She's like yelling at them.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you got to see the panel too.
Yeah, and Kevin Sussman from Big Bang Theory, who plays Stewart.
Yeah.
What a nice man.
How can he not? He plays like...
I think Stewart, and what's interesting is he worked in a comic book store for real.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's too funny.
And they had
I had a dream that I worked at a comic book store. Not last night, but
Mike's "I Have a Dream" speech is definitely different than MLK's.
It was weird, and I couldn't find any of the books I was trying to find for a customer. It was borderline nightmare.
That's brutal. Were you panicking?
Yes, because
Yeah.
and because it was weird because not only was the room huge, but the shelves were like endless. It was like I would stand at one end and I'd look down and the shelves of comics. I mean, it was almost a beautiful sight, but they would stretch out forever. And it was like, but from this perspective, where I'm trying to find a book and all of that.
Mike was in the Indiana Jones vault.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so it was a very fun day, and I got to see people. I saw oh my God, I'm blanking on her
Oh
name.
no. Amy?
Yes, Amy Imhoff.
Yay, Amy Imhoff.
I know, Imhoff. It was so wonderful to see her. She's not going to Vegas either.
Yeah, not
A lot
surprising.
of people are not
A lot
going.
of people are not going.
But saw Scott Herzog from Sci-Fi Diner, Dave Mack, the usual cast of people. I did not get to see Heather Hutzel. I ran out of time. I'm so sorry, Heather, if you're listening. So it was a good day. I love shore leave.
Well, it looks like how was the attendance compared to other years?
Packed.
Good.
I drove around for 5 minutes looking for a parking space. I never have to do that.
That's great news because, again, for a fan-run con and it's not very big, I want it to continue to be successful just because of its history.
Mike, what did he say they can hold at one time? 1,500 people?
I think so.
Yeah, so it's not big at all. I mean, shit, 1,500 people in the vendors room at Vegas. Maybe that's a little exaggeration, but yeah.
Sheldon, is he a villain on that show?
No.
Would you call him the show's heel? No? Okay.
No, he's the show's nudge. Because he's not evil. Sheldon is not.
Sheldon's not evil. He just has a condition.
Yeah.
Seriously.
What is a nudge?
You guys, you don't understand. Sheldon is probably the Sheldon reminds me a lot of my dad.
No, yeah, Sheldon is just he is the glue because remember the time that they were doing all the stuff without him and they realized how much they missed him?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
but,
Sheldon just has a different wired brain, and that's why I kind of appreciate him, is because he still has friends who love him despite how crazy he kind of is. And it just goes to show that,
he's special.
Well, and the same thing, with all of them. I mean, look at Howard. Howard was a full-on jerk when the series started, when it came to women and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And yet...
I think it says more about self-esteem and self-respect about any other kind of show. It shows that it's okay to love yourself. And his character is a good one of showing that. Once he found that somebody could love him and he realized that he was worth loving, he started to change a little bit. And I love that. Mm-hmm. So I am a Big Bang Theory fan. I know a lot of people think it's whatever, but I think you're wrong. So there you have it.
So there.
Let's see. Shit. God damn it. I was going to say something before the whole Big Bang Theory.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. You know how the show is. It just goes pew.
And today, by the way, Terry, is S+39 for the SS Edmund Fitzgerald and the Andrea Yates of fan films producers. Just saying. S+39.
Oh, thank you. I gets it. I did.
Andrea Yates, people. Come on. There's people right now Googling, who the hell is that? Oh, you're awful.
Oh, Mike, I'm so glad that we actually did get links today, and Mike put together this amazing list. And I did want to start off real quick. The product news this week is insane. There is a lot.
The past few weeks, it's been
insane.
My
God, you guys! I don't want to hear any of you complaining about how Star Wars gets all the toys.
It's insane, people! If you buy right now, I am throwing in some Klingon flan. That's right, some Klingon flan.
There are about 30 links just this week of new items.
The past few weeks, it's been like that, and most of them are new T-shirts, a ton of new designs that have been coming out. I mean, I think a couple weeks ago it was last week I think it was Quark's Bar There was a whole line of Quark's Bar T-shirts and wearable items. This week it's the TNG Mirror Universe.
So fun.
There's T-shirts for both men and women. For instance, with Mirror Riker or Mirror Picard.
The Mirror Rikers and Mirror Picard are freaking awesome.
Speaking of Riker,
Yeah.
Marina was talking about, somebody asked about chocolate. Was that her idea? And she was talking about no, because she said her and Frakes would get calls about every 3 months. You're getting fat.
Oh, yeah.
She goes, so if you're going to call me, or you're going to call Jonathan, why give our character a personality quirk that's depending on a fatty food?
That's a good point.
Because, she holds back.
Yeah, oh no. Yes, I know. She holds back all the time. No, but whatever. So,
and by the way, for 63, just saying.
I know, right? Beautiful, beautiful lady. Beautiful lady.
I think she looks better now than she did when TNG was on the air. Seriously.
I think so too. Kojiro wants to know, but is there a Buck Bukai rookie card?
Limited edition Buck Bukai rookie cards. Only 10,000 were produced. I have 9,000 of them, people.
I did put a link into the chat room because if I don't know, I don't even know if they make peachy folders anymore. Do they?
I don't know.
Hmm?
Do you remember peachy folders, Nick?
Like a Trapper Keeper?
No, like before Trapper Keeper, like precedes Trapper Keeper, the peachy folder.
Oh yeah.
Okay, they have made a Star Trek school folder notebook that has a Star Trek cover that looks in the style of the peachy folder. Oh my fucking God. I need this in my life. This is so, you have no idea, you guys. My peachy folders were these cheap folders that everybody had, and everybody got them because you drew on them. They always had sports figures. There was like a basketball and a baseball thing on the front, but you could mark them up, and but by the end of the school year, if your peachy folder it wasn't covered with your doodles, then you weren't human. But I remember specifically a lot of my classmates would draw Star Trek on their peachy folder. So to have a Star Trek notebook that's already got those characters on it, it's just it goes straight to the heart of anybody of a certain age. This is just amazing. I love this. So you can get it at Star Trek shops at StarTrek.com. It's $14.95. This is a 200-page spiral notebook. It's not a folder. It's an actual paper notebook. But I would probably buy it, and then I'd probably buy like 5 of them and never probably touch them. Oh my God, they're amazing.
Whatever you do, if Terry gets one, don't bend the spine.
Don't bend the spine.
By the way, I
don't
brought
break
that
the
up.
binding. Yeah.
I don't know how my wife and I were talking, and I mentioned your quirk about that.
Oh yeah.
And she's the same. And I was like, "Are you out of your mind?"
No, you want things to look nice.
It's a book. It's like Beho said. Remember, she doesn't want to see her concordance all pristine. She wants to see it used.
The concordance, I do have to admit, is pretty beat up.
Yeah.
I have to say, my research books, they're
I
pretty
was going
beat
to
up.
say, you're not that way with like research or reference material books, right?
Reference material is meant to be opened and cracked and beat up and run through.
Oh, you mean
and
like
read.
a book that you read?
But a novel?
It's
That's
a
why
novel.
you buy 2.
You buy the
I have done
hardcover
that,
and
Mike,
you buy the
just so you know.
paperback.
If I break a binding, I'll buy a copy.
Stop it. Well, I broke the binding on my Kindle, so.
It's true. Look at Kojiro. There's nothing.
Yeah. I broke the binding on my Kindle.
Very funny. Oh my
Thank you.
gosh, that's an expensive binding break.
Yeah, right? No, but for those that don't know, Terry has this thing. You can't open a book and read it because God forbid the binding cracks. Showing that the book has been read and loved.
Well, the one thing I do have to give Simon and Schuster credit for, or Pockets credit for, is that they print their novels and have been for several years now with a nice kind of soft page.
Yeah.
They're soft. So you don't have to kind of crack it open. It's easy to read without breaking that binding. So I have to give them. I just like the idea of.
So does it drive you crazy if someone has like a paperback in their back pocket?
It depends on what it is. If it's Mein Kampf, I might have an issue.
No, don't be.
If it's
Terry
the
has a
Constitution,
hardcover.
I'd be all for it.
Terry has this hard clamshell case that she stores all of her books for travel. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
Well,
I don't.
because that's, I guess, because
I
deploying around, I
no,
always
it
had
doesn't
a
bother me
paperback in
when
my
somebody
cargo
else does
pocket.
it. But then again, I'm not that person. But if
Right.
I just it's that little thing in me that you want things when they're on a bookshelf to have a nice appearance. So when I
Well-
turn around and I look at it, I go, oh, look how pretty.
Well, that's why you buy the hardcover too.
Well, if they made hardcovers, I'd probably buy them.
Now, since you brought up Mein Kampf, I want to ask you, because this came up in that panel:
Oh gosh.
are all Nazis evil?
That's a really hard. No, it isn't, and it is. I would say for the most part, yes.
Really? So, in order to get a job in Nazi Germany, you had to join the party.
Well, let's put it this way.
So your
I
family
have-
starves and dies.
Everybody has a choice,
And what choice did they have in order to live?
and that's the point.
If you're a trained
And there
conductor.
it comes down to, right?
But I was just following orders.
I was just following
No.
orders.
No. In order to have a job and feed your family, you had to be a member of the party.
Okay, so here's the thing, and this is something that we're all
Was
dealing
Erwin
with
Rommel,
in today's
was
society.
Erwin Rommel evil?
And that is, wouldn't you want to leave that country?
You couldn't.
Or you die, right?
Right.
It sucks when you have to make a decision. And I would hope that if to be on the right side of history, if something occurred to me, that I would try my damnedest to get the fuck out.
Was Erwin Rommel evil?
Yeah, I think so.
How?
He could have said no. That's
He
the
did.
thing. At the
He
end
did.
of the day,
Hold on.
people
He
have the
did.
right
He-
to say no. And
he-
why don't
he-
you? Fear
he
of what?
did.
Fear of death? At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, right?
He ignored the edict about the Jews.
But where was he?
What do you mean, where was he?
Where was he in
At
order
what
to
point?
ignore the edict about the Jews?
North Africa.
Right, which was so full of Jewish people.
Yeah, it was. Tunisia and all that? Yes, there were. Remember, they were French. They were taking over areas from the French. There were. Because
But
when he
not
left,
to the extent that there were in Eastern Europe.
and he didn't do it in his areas of France that he was in charge of.
Because he was still too busy fighting other forces that were.
Not really. Not until
Yeah.
June 6th.
I'm just saying, I don't think he had the
No,
infrastructure, but if he had, he probably would have.
What?
I'm just saying, I don't think he had the infrastructure to be able to build a shitload of,
No, he was
furnaces.
opposed to it. That's why he was in on the plot to kill Hitler.
So you think that makes him a hero?
No, I never said hero. Did anybody hear me say the word hero?
So you said you
I
don't
said,
think
was
he's
he
evil?
evil? No.
I think he is. I think that he made the wrong decision. At the end of it,
So
I am pretty hard on people. When are you going to understand that?
So those Russian soldiers that were fighting the Nazis, were they evil?
Well, talk about two different mixes, right?
Okay, were the French fighting the Germans evil?
Were they?
I'm asking you.
I'm asking you. What do you think, Nick?
I don't think just because someone...
Again, that comes down to the whole idea of that
And
political thing about who's a rebel and who's fighting for freedom, right?
So Gunter
So
Schatz,
it's
who I served
it's a
with...
twisted perception.
No,
If you
hold
look
on.
at it from either side, it could
No,
be either
it's
way.
not. Gunter Schatz, who I served with in Germany, he was our media relations guy, was in the Hitler Youth as a kid because he was forced to be.
Well, indoctrination of children set aside, I get that. I do.
But he was
That's-
still,
is
he
that
was still
evil?
in the party.
No. Do they
And his father
if given the
had to join the
opportunity
party.
to learn about other things, do they make the right choice? Then it becomes an issue. But again, when you're talking about the geopolitical thing, right? And about who is
Supreme... Hold
perceiving-
on.
If one
Supreme
person's
Leggett...
freedom fighter is another person's rebel,
Yeah, Supreme Leggett goes, are all Republicans evil? Hey, I'm one. Am I evil?
I thought you were a libertarian.
I am.
Then you're not Republican.
But my registry... Oh, stop it.
And let me tell you how I feel about libertarians.
Well, I could go the other way. Democrats, and going off of their party's history, they were the biggest supporters of the Klan. They were the ones who
Yeah, we were.
fought
Yeah, they were. Absolutely.
integration.
And
They're
then
the ones
they changed, right?
who... Well, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind
and
of.
so did
But you're
Republicans. Republicans were the biggest freedom fighters, and Lincoln himself was a
Now
Republican.
you just kill them in the womb instead.
All I'm saying is that when it comes to the geopolitical shit, saying one side is evil that's why it's hard to say that groups of people when a perception of freedom fighting versus rebel is just a point of view of which side you're on. Now, do I believe that Nazis are evil? I think pretty much For the majority of them, yeah. I think that
So
their
you think
idea of
the
supporting
average
a government
everyday German?
that let's put it this way: if it was happening here, all right, and we started rounding people up and putting them into furnaces, I would hope
Or
that you
putting them
would
into
be
camps
upset
like
by
we did with
that.
the greatest president in history, FDR, did with the Japanese Americans, putting them into camps.
I think that was a pretty shitty thing to do. Yeah.
So why is he so lionized?
Do you want who?
FDR.
What? I think it's a pretty shitty. Why is he lionized? I think that he was fucking wrong. And I don't lionize. Trust me, there has
No,
never
I'm
been a
not saying.
president that
No,
I
I'm
fucking
not. Hold on.
lionize, all right?
I'm not saying you do. I'm saying
You want to
as
know
a
why?
nation.
Because Nixon was my first president that I remember. And so I don't know a president you could ever trust, ever.
Really? And
Yeah,
so
really.
He did nothing good in office.
Who? I'm not
Nixon.
saying they didn't do it. Why are you putting the black and white? When are you going to
Because
understand?
that's how you're doing it with Nazis.
Am
so
I?
The
Did I
average,
just say that? I said you
You
can't.
said
I
said
just
Nazis
said you
are
can't.
evil. You said
Nick,
all
listen
Nazis
to
are
me.
evil.
I said you can't. When it comes to the geopolitical thing of looking at either side as to whether or not you're a rebel or a fucking freedom fighter, it depends on the point of view that you have. Do I, on an individual basis, do I hope that people who had the opportunity to say no would have and would have stood up for something as far as human rights were concerned? That's what it comes down to. If you were a person that said, okay, I'm going to shut my mouth, then I think that there's something pretty fucking evil about you because you didn't have the balls to say no. That is what I mean.
But when I asked about the average everyday German,
I don't know what it was like to be an average everyday German at the time when fascism came in and overtook their country. I would hope that if I were put into a situation that were similar, I would either find a way to leave, fight, or die.
A few million Dutch marks at the time for a loaf of bread.
right? Exactly.
And now you understand why we have a refugee problem with Syria.
What?
Why are these are people just trying to live, and they're doing it by trying to get the fuck out of their country because they don't support the regime that's in charge. I think those are amazing fucking people. Get the hell out. Live for living's sake. Don't get wrapped up in the bullshit that is trying to take over your country.
That's
absolutely the same fucking thing.
If you're trying to equate that to the average German in the 30s,
why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I?
Where were they going to go?
What, I don't know. Over the hills into Austria.
Which was also...
Or out of Austria. It doesn't matter, right?
Everywhere they went.
No, everywhere they went,
east,
right?
If
exactly.
they went east, they were going into the communists.
But
and
they
if
faced
they
their
went
death
west,
looking for a way to get out.
But you're not putting it in the context of the Great Depression, which was worldwide at their time, and it was hard to just live, let alone move.
And
have you guys? I'm sorry to interrupt, but have you guys seen the series Genius? In it, there's actually.
Oh, is that the one about Einstein?
The first season's about Albert Einstein. There's actually like 3 or 4 episodes. It spans like 3 or 4 episodes, I think, where he is actually trying to escape Germany. He's communicating with the American government, and the American government is telling them no, you can't. And
right.
And this was Einstein. You know, and it was the FBI that was J. Edgar Hoover at the time was the one that was saying no, because we can't trust you. You're a man that is antagonistic. So you have this quirk about your personality that we can't trust who you are, what you say, because
that haircut alone.
but so some people may try to get out.
People forget our nation, the United States, was as anti-Semitic as any other nation. People
we were taking refugees from Great Britain, but we certainly weren't taking them from Israel. As a matter of fact, we worked really hard to build a country that we could ship them all back to at the end of the war, right?
People don't realize that at the start of World War II, well over a half of the nation did not want to go to war against Germany, only Japan. Hitler's biggest blunder was declaring war on us. We never declared war on him.
I don't disagree.
Because our nation had and not just anti-Semitism. What they did to the Japanese was just as bad. The anti-Catholic, read the biography Truman and read what they thought in the Midwest about Catholics.
I know.
it was horrific. So I'm not surprised by that, Mike. By the way, is that a good show?
I loved it.
Okay, and
Second-
what?
Who's the next
It's
one about?
FX, right?
I think so. The second season will be about someone else. I'm not sure who yet.
Oh, so are they?
It's a different
different
It's a different person each
It's
season.
it's a season long anthology. So every season is someone new that epitomizes genius.
Oh, very cool. You know they're going to get to Steve Jobs.
I want to
sure
say
at
that's who
some
it
point,
was.
Probably. I'm not sure if it is going to be Steve Jobs yet. But it might be someone like crap. I know that they've already announced who the next season's going to be about. I just can't remember. I think it's a woman.
I'm looking it up right now.
So taking this debate into Serial. Oh, I love that podcast. Taking this debate into Star Trek, do you think that by the time of the 23rd, 24th century, and especially with all the different cultures, that every culture would be accepting of every other one, like the Federation says they are?
Okay, again, don't forget about the caveat. The Federation is accepting for the most part as long as you abide by a certain set of base rules. Which not everybody did. So not everybody becomes a member of the Federation because the Federation has a set of standards that a lot of people didn't adhere to. There
have been a couple instances where, I can think of one instance, but there's been a couple of instances in their history that that kind of border on that. What's the guy's name? Kudos the Executioner.
Oh yeah, not kudos.
Kodos.
Hey, kudos. Kudos.
Oh, you know who I meant, but yeah, him. And then, although this guy was pre-Federation, Major Green, I think was his name. But
Colonel Green. Yeah.
Colonel Green, yeah. But he was that was technically pre-Federation, but
Kodos was definitely during the Federation because
yes.
Kirk was on that planet.
Yep, and that was, I believe, a Federation world. Extraordinary circumstances. I mean, they were starving and they were trying to...
Yeah, it was an outlying colony, wasn't it?
It was an outlying colony, and a rescue ship was on the way. They just had to survive until it arrived.
And
sadly, they took extraordinary measures to
with
to
what
do that.
they've given us about him. Now, of course, it's very thumbnail because of the way the shows were written back then. But it also came down to almost like a triage situation, choosing those who could offer something to continue the life for those that couldn't, leaving them to die or killing them. I mean, that's what triage is. It's a horrible feeling to have to look at somebody and say, you're beyond help. I have to help this other person instead. I can't explain to anyone what that feels like.
Okay, but there's a distinct difference between not being able to assist somebody and killing them so you wouldn't have to worry about it.
But if you let them live, that means more people will die.
Oh, you don't know that. And there's the thing, right? That's what Kodos, wasn't that the problem there?
Yeah, that's what he was up against.
They had only so much food.
Was it a disease or was it food? What was it?
Well, according to the autobiography of James T. Kirk...
I love David Goodman. Okay.
They only had enough food to last so much time, and the rescue ships were so many days out. So they had to trim a third of their population, I think it was, in order to make some of them even be able to last that long.
Right. So it does come between the needs of the many over the needs of the few.
So you're saying that Kodo was actually a hero?
No, I didn't say that.
Was he a three-dimensional villain?
No, because we only heard about him, and that's the problem. Is we only heard about him.
How did you only hear about him? He was in the show. You see him.
Well,
at the end.
But no, we only heard about what he did. We don't actually know more than that. It's not like they had a fleshed out storyline of what actually happened.
True.
We only had Kirk's interpretation and Kevin
And you
Ryan.
had a person who had, for all intent and purposes, quote unquote, redeemed himself.
Or gone into hiding.
And became a member of society that, for the most part...
Was he an allegory for Nazis in Argentina?
I'm thinking so.
That just hit me.
I'm thinking that's exactly what it was about.
Had that hit you before?
That's what I always thought it was about.
Oh, I never, for some reason, I never connected with that. I always thought of it more as like, just it never that scale. I guess because of the scale, but putting it in the context of what we're talking today, then suddenly the scale hits clearly. Wow.
Yeah, it's an excellent. As a matter of fact, it was just on this week. That episode was just on this week, and Alan and I watched it on Heroes and Icons. And and I even told him, I said it's a really good episode, and it would have been interesting to see how it would have moved forward if his daughter hadn't been the one who was insane and was the one killing people. Because
Yeah.
once he realized that his sin infected her, he becomes a tragic character.
Oh yeah, I mean the Shakespearean influence on that writing, especially in the first season, is just, and I mean the way they used Shakespeare itself to push that story forward, the flow of that story, because he was identifying with those Shakespearean characters and the pain and torment.
Exactly. And at the very end, when she goes, finally, she really goes apeshit, and she just starts spouting all of the fucking Shakespeare, and just her, it's like a death scene for her, and you find out how fucking insane she really is. It's brilliant. And she knocked that out of the park. That actress, holy crap, she was great.
Yeah, I was gonna say that whole episode. I mean, the guy that played Kodos was wonderful.
It was a
Was
really
he a real
good
Shakespearean
episode.
actor?
I'm
I have to
sure,
think
yeah.
he was. By the way, for those that want to get into acting or producing or anything like that, there was a young girl. Marina's so funny because she's like, "Sweetie, before you start, I want to tell you, back when I was your age, I would have rocked those shorts too." she's so cute. But the girl is studying film and entertainment in North Carolina. So she asked for advice, and Marina, she's so mean. She's like, first thing I would say is you have to leave North Carolina. And there were lots of boos for Marina when she said that. But she said there's so many people in Los Angeles who have never stepped foot on a stage. She said if you want to get into the business, theater, theater, theater.
Yep, I think she's right.
And I thought of Alan.
And you should have.
Sorry, talking about Shakespeare made me think of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, even that character who we're supposed to see in terms of he's this mass executioner and everything, but was he doing it for the greater good? It becomes a much deeper situation.
Yeah, it really does. And again, when you bring it down to an individual level, it's much easier to make a three-dimensional character out of it because you're really getting into the humanity of the question. When you pull back and you think of things in large groups and societal efforts and geopolitical tactics, you take the humanity out of it, and it's a lot easier to do the big swath, right? So the trouble always begins when we get to the larger groups, whether that be politics, religion, anything along the lines where large groups of people have a force.
I think the title for this one is "Are All Villains Evil?"
And it's an interesting argument.
What do you think, Mike?
He'll have to.
I have to research it.
He has to research it. There's a whole lot of work.
You don't
have
know
no
how
idea
bad
what
I
he
feel
does.
for Mike just trying to come up with a title for our episodes.
Oh, he's amazing. Just the amount of work that goes into it.
Because of this whole, I don't even understand what
so
SEO is.
taking that one
SEO
step
is evil.
in,
That's evil.
Okay, so taking it one step in, it's pretty easy to make the argument that, especially in the original series, the Klingons are perceived to be the bad guys.
You just read my
evil,
mind,
right?
Terry.
What?
You just read my mind.
Yeah, right?
But then there's a redemption for them in TNG.
And when did that redemption come through or get solidified?
When Gene decided he didn't want them to be the villain anymore.
or was it inspired by, what happened in Undiscovered Country, right? Is really taking on and making an idea of what happens when like the wall falls or what happens when somebody who was your enemy all of a sudden becomes the person who needs you most.
No, I have a question for Mike,
Okay.
the Klingon. Now, did you grow up watching TOS and then watch TNG as it
Yes.
came on? Or okay, were you a Klingon guy then?
No.
So it was the TNG era that made you a Klingon guy.
Well, the Klingons were very two-dimensional in TOS.
I don't know about that, John
So
Colicos.
in terms
for the
of
most part, they
society,
were written pretty
in terms
flat.
of-
Yeah.
You did not know very much about their people. But once we started exploring, the Klingon society and the Klingon world, they became much greater, and that and aspects of their culture is what I really what drew me. Aspects of their culture, their jeu de vivre, the way that
Joie de vivre, really?
I love it. That's awesome.
the way that take life on. I mean, that's, for me, that's inspiring.
Okay, so yeah,
That's cool.
Well, I'm just interested in that because they were so different from the TOS Klingons. Who,
Yeah.
I mean, some of them were very cool. I mean, Don Calicos was very cool. Michael Ansara, please. Michael Ansara could be portraying the worst person, and just that voice, I'm like, that's the coolest guy ever. you know?
Well, again, they saw now some of the things that were talked about, and again, when you saw Klingons in the original series, you also saw what wasn't necessarily the most perfect Kirk either, and
Yeah.
I will
Private
always
Little
go
War.
back to Private Little War.
Yeah.
And seeing is that they didn't really care about what was going on as much as it was about marksmanship or tact, about what tact to take against an enemy and using a pawn of the people of that planet. And that's really what it was. Kirk may not have seen himself as doing that, but that's exactly what he was doing, is he was using those people as a pawn, just like the Klingons were, because it was more about what were the Klingons doing and not what was best for those people.
Yeah, that's a really good episode for those that haven't seen it in a long time. Terry, I just had a thought when Mike was explaining. Can you imagine a young Mikey the first time they showed the Klingon homeworld on TNG?
Yeah, actually,
young Mikey running around.
No, just wide-eyed, glued to the set, right, Mike?
I immediately grabbed a broom and started swinging it around like a bat laugh.
That doesn't surprise. That's wonderful.
Knocked my brothers on their asses.
Of course you did. Have you seen that video of the girl watching the end of Rogue One?
Yes.
That's Mikey when they showed the Klingon homeworld. Right? Am I right, Mike?
My appreciation for the Klingons didn't happen right away. It came after probably the first time I rewatched TNG.
Oh, really? That late?
It wasn't one of those things where it's like I had to get the whole picture. I had to see who these people were all the way through, and Worf definitely had a big influence on that. I mean, he was able to show what the ideal Klingon should be like, and yes. Like Nick has said many times, not most of the Klingons that we see and that we meet are not honorable Klingons, and that's because they're doing it wrong.
Are they, or are they doing it the way they need to survive?
Well,
see how it comes around?
Yes, perhaps that is what they're doing. But again, they're doing it wrong.
Are they? Because remember, they're serving on a ship where if they look at their captain the wrong way, they get killed, which is a terrible way to run things.
I'm just saying that's
because it leads to less.
No offense, Mike, but having a command by the only way to get command is to kill your captain. Not there would be chaos.
How do we know that is the right way to do things? That just because that's the way they're doing it doesn't mean it's the right way to do things.
Well, I would think it would be a very wrong way to do things, because that's all you would be doing is you would be fighting off challengers every moment of the day.
Exactly.
Which again leads to my point. They're doing it wrong. And
so your love is based on the whole culture doing it wrong?
My love is based on what I saw Worf attempting to do it right.
But that's just one guy.
One guy,
he's an idealized way.
One guy
even
wanting to restore things to the way things really should be. And Kahless, the clone of Kahless was supposed to help with that. Obviously, we don't know canon-wise what that turned out to be, but I would like to think that with Kahless, we probably got more of it back to the way it should be. But again, we don't really know. Martok, I think he also represents, the way that it should be. So saying that all Klingons are like that again is also wrong. But I think the good examples of what their society should be, that is what what appealed to me. Just like you get pissed off when someone says all Romulans are murderous, backstabbing assholes.
Yeah, but that was that. Just watch Unification, and that's proven not to be true.
And there are examples of Klingons that are not like.
But the majority of what we see is the opposite.
And that again, what now? Whose fault is that? Right? The first time we actually see a Klingon that isn't necessarily a warrior is a guy who operates a restaurant on DS9, who, by the way, fucking sings opera, and I love him. And I always thought, gee, this is what we need to see more of.
I don't know about that because the one where Picard was the Chadich and they go to Kronos, the old woman and stuff.
There's a lot. There's actually quite a bit.
Yeah, but you don't really know what her place was other than the fact that she was a servant to another warrior. That was the first time you really see that outside of the warrior caste system, that there is a person who actually is a business owner and operates outside of, oh, I'm going to beat you to death, that I'm going to run a restaurant. I liked that. You've got to figure that there's something like that in Klingon society.
Right. Okay, Mike, here's a question for you that I have. Who do you think is more emblematic of the truth of the way Klingons are rather than the ideal? Worf or Beta, Lursa, and B'Etor?
I would say that if you're talking about the majority of Klingon society, okay?
From what we've seen.
I think the majority of Klingon society, even the little bits that we've seen in the background, is more like Worf. They're trying to do the honorable thing. They're trying to be good Klingons. I don't think they are walking around trying to figure out a way to come up or backstab their neighbor. I don't think that is how the average everyday Klingon lives. And we did see some people in the background that are like that. Now, granted, we saw more on-screen time of the political aspect, where people are trying to backstab each other to try to get a leg up, trying to, but I don't think that represents the average everyday Klingon person. And the few times we did see Klingon people in the background and trying to live and whatnot, they were not like that.
So bringing it around to what we were discussing before, what we saw of the Klingon High Council and their willingness to accept Duras as a traitor and blame it on Worf's family for convenience and other decisions
to prevent another war or a civil war.
Decisions that they made versus the average, everyday Klingon, like Mike was just saying. Terry, what about Nazi leaders compared to the everyday person?
Well, first and foremost, the Klingons didn't know what had happened, correct? Because they kept it secret.
And do you think that the average person, not the people living out the towns, but the average person knew about the camps?
Okay, so I would think that if they believe, and here's the thing, I really think that if they had the way that the Klingon, again, talking about a fake society, they're still all in houses, all of them. They all still belong to a house, and houses have certain levels, right? So if you are a secondary or a tertiary house, you support the house above you. I would think that if the house above you started to do something that was perceived as being completely dishonorable, that the houses would have revolted. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, see, I don't see that because
and I think that's what they were trying to avoid. By keeping this secret, they kept the houses, the lower houses, calm, and therefore no civil war, and everybody got to play nice, and all the people who were in power got to stay in power without causing what would be a complete revolution.
See, I just think that the lack of honor at the top there finds its way down. It's still cascades down.
No, I really think that in something like that I think that I would think that they would, again, talking about houses and knowing that especially those who lived with that honor on a day-to-day basis and didn't have to get involved in all of that, right? We're talking about the everyday Klingon who still belongs to a house, whether it be a secondary, tertiary, or even something lower. They're the fucking cannon fodder. And if they think that they're going to start turning into cannon fodder, the honorable thing to do would be to rebel. And they knew it. And I think that the Chancellor knew it. So to save his own skin and to save everything, it's a lot easier to turn that on or twist it and throw it on Worf's shoulder and say, hey, look, dude, you can save us all. What a hero you are.
Mike, your thoughts?
Worf was the convenient scapegoat because at the time, it was pretty much believed that he was the only member left of his house. At the time, he wasn't even really part of the Empire. He was on a Federation starship, who knows where, that may never ever return to the Empire. He was the convenient scapegoat. I don't think they ever expected him to show up and challenge it. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think they fully expected him to play the party line and stay that way forever. And look what ended up happening.
Well,
he ended up finding a way to get around it, and revolution did occur for the most part, right? We ended up with Gowron and Martok.
Martok. Well, Sun brings up a good point, though. It's a society as a whole who not only has to build their own honor, they inherit their seniors' dishonor, which to me, if my great-great-grandfather did something and somehow I inherit it, that is not honorable. Because there's no honor in staining someone for something that happened maybe 100 years before they were born.
Yeah, but that's how works a lot. Well, now you're going to get me into a topic I really don't want to discuss today.
The 7-year curse, or the 7-generation curse, essentially, is what we're referring to. The stain of dishonor, it's supposedly sticks around for 7 generations. In John Jackson Miller's series, great series, please check it out.
Just Prey. Yeah.
Yes. In it actually addresses that, and it goes to show what that is a wrong thing, because it alienates
exactly.
That's what I was going to ask. Is what?
I don't think that is something that came about after Kahless. This is one of those things where you slap them in the head and say, "Dumbass, you're doing it wrong." I think that's what this is. This is one of those instances of they're doing it wrong.
Because what motivation, if my great-great-grandfather had done something to earn dishonor, what motivation would I have to want to even serve the Empire if they're not going to recognize who I am, not staining me with my great-great-grandfather?
See, that's what happens to Duras. That's exactly what happens to the Duras family. He gets discommendated way back in Enterprise
because of what
era.
His father did.
Because of Enterprise. So because of events in Enterprise, okay? So here we have a family that all of a sudden went from being almost the epitome of in Klingon society to all of a sudden having everything that they've known, everything that they've had taken away, and they have nothing. So what do? They try to restore what they've had, and they do it in the most underhanded way that they can, because that's all that's left to them. And they do it by seeking alliances with enemies of the Empire, aka Romulans, and so on and so forth. And see, that is a condition of that particular policy. And again, it's they're doing it wrong, and that's what has allowed this shit to happen to the society. They thought, it would be cool to punish these people because we don't like them and we don't want them to have their power anymore.
Because it's a leverage thing.
Yeah. And I think that came about not because of the emperors, but I think that came about as a political tool once the chancellorship and the council was formed. It was a way of keeping the boys club boys.
Yep. It's a way to control the masses. It's a way to control the masses.
And to get rid of any political opponents that you may have.
Right.
And the whole idea of 7 generations, I mean, if you think about it, okay, so 7 generations, I mean, for a Klingon, you're talking almost 1,000 years, for a Klingon family. So you're essentially, I mean, at some point, the entire Klingon population is going to be rendered,
dishonorable.
Exactly. And it's what I said in the chat room. I said it goes straight to the heart of why samurai feudalism did not work. It was based on the same problem, and ultimately it fed on itself and died.
Mike,
Revolution is inevitable,
Again,
and I think
you're doing
Sun
it
would agree
wrong.
with me on this after the discussion we had a few weeks ago.
say that again, sorry.
And I said, I think Sun would agree with me on that about in certain circumstances, revolution is inevitable.
Mike, I have a story idea for you. The Dishonorable Seven.
Oh, I love that.
That's an interesting idea, but I seriously think John Jackson Miller may have already beat you to that.
Oh, did he really?
Not quite, but I mean he
Damn
really
you,
does. He
Miller!
does such a great job of that story.
Yeah.
I mean, and he really addresses the issues of the seven generation dishonor thing. At the spoiler, but at the end, the Federation and the Empire come to a realization that something has to change, and it's this big one, this idea that once you become dishonored, your all of your descendants from that point forward essentially are basically outcasts. So where do you go? Where do you turn? They have to they have to leave and go their own way, and that is a recipe for disaster, and that's what these books deal with.
Very
Well,
cool.
one thing
So
like that
definitely
that's
check it out.
one thing I've always found interesting is that they talk about, the warriors being the highest caste, and that scientists are looked down upon. But in their society, aside from science, their scientists would also be creating better ways for them to kill. So why wouldn't they be looked at a higher level? Because they're providing the tools and the things for the warriors. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I want to address Kojiro Vance in the chat room.
Of course.
Klingons are long-lived. Okay, they can live to be about 200 years old. Now, if a 200-year-old Klingon decides to make a baby,
That's what he was saying. It doesn't matter how long they live. It depends on how early in their lives they actually
So Larry
give birth.
King is a Klingon.
Right.
So yes, as you were saying, if they decide to procreate soon when they're young, so they can go through 7 generations very, very quickly. But again, the later that they have children, the more that gets prolonged.
So it could be up to 1,000 years, yeah.
Yeah, and a dishonored Klingon often, according to John Jackson Miller, The Prey by John Jackson Miller.
By John Jackson Miller.
Available on Amazon and at your local bookseller.
Yes. According to that book, a lot of Klingons, they choose not to procreate because of this policy. But as we all know, accidents do happen. So even, there isn't this rush to hurry up and get the 7 generations done. But there is this idea of there's nothing more to live for. There's no reason for us to make new children. Yet accidents happen. So you end up, 75, 85 years old with a kid. And so all of a sudden you don't have that benefit of getting through the 7 generations quickly.
It would be interesting.
1,000 years
Yeah.
could literally pass before that 7th generation comes along.
You know what's interesting, Mike? If a house was dishonored like that, and this is just going off into a little what if, imagine if in the Klingons, if the house was dishonored, they were then rendered unable to have children. How long would the Empire last?
Say that again. I was reading.
Really?
I was reading Kojiro. I'm sorry.
Because there's the stain of dishonor on a house, they
Okay.
were then not allowed to procreate. Imagine what that would do to the Empire.
There would not be an empire after very long.
It would become like 18th century France and Germany and England.
Well, that's part of the reason why I liked Undiscovered Country so much, was because it was the first time you ever really get a chance, or you got to see what the fuck would happen to a society that you kind of understood had this kind of, albeit handicapped but still functional society that has its rug pulled out from underneath them with the destruction of Praxis. I loved the idea of what was quite frankly a very big revolution with regards to the Klingon Empire and how things kind of had to go, and they were forced to change. How would they go through that? I personally, you know me, I would like to dig deeper. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more, and I'm pleased to hear that John Jackson Miller was able to do so in the Prey series, and the idea of what happens
By
to a
John Jackson
society
Miller.
that when they're forced to change their societal makeup.
Two things.
So.
One, you know what's interesting in all of this, because I have to introduce the Romulans into this. Something interesting in all of this is the Romulans, for everything that we know about them, they also have an elected government where they elect their senators. So there's that little wrench thrown into what we know about them. Where, how'd you like to see a Romulan election?
That's part of the reason why I really liked the Titan series too. Of course, the first few books of the Titan series of dealing with,
the aftermath
of
of Shinzon.
the senator, of Shinzon and
rebuilding
the complete
the
destruction.
government.
And now a government having to deal with a group of their subordinates or their subjects that now want representation, namely the Remans. It's a fascinating idea.
And it's really fascinating, that they have a representative government with a praetor at the top.
Right.
Who, if I remember correctly from my readings, and Mike, it may be from Bloodwing, I'm not sure. Don't the other senators vote on who the praetor is?
I do believe so, yes.
Usually one of the longer-serving senators, kind of like ancient Rome.
Basically, the Romulan people elect the Senate, and then the Senate chooses one of their own. Although I think it's established that more often than not, yes, it is the eldest, the wisest among us.
It's kind of like Rome.
Yeah, but that isn't always the case. Sometimes
it's an up-and-comer.
Yeah. It's an up-and-comer like Shinzon. Who wasn't even fucking Romulan.
Yeah, but he had silver-tongued devils. He was a silver-tongued devil.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So I just think that's a fascinating take, because we've been talking about the Klingons and the honor and all of that, that the other main enemy, if you will, of the big three, Federation, Romulans, and Klingons, that their form is closer to the Federation than we'd like to think. It's just their aims are different.
Yep, exactly. Which is why they're such they're so formidable and so scary, right?
Yeah. Now, something I heard at the convention from somebody that has signed multiple NDAs regarding a little series you may have heard of called Star Trek Discovery. From what they are able to say, get ready for it, Terry. Get ready for it, Mike. Those that live and die by canon are going to have issues.
Yeah, there's actually an article on TrekCore that we can put into the chat room real quick, where Kurtzman comes out and actually says, well, Discovery will quote unquote stick to the rules of Star Trek canon, but expects much debate among fans. So I love
prepare
that.
your anuses now for the bleeding that will be coming from certain segments of the fandom.
I think the sound of heads exploding everywhere.
So here's the question: are we ready for such a change? Are we going to give Discovery what Enterprise should have had?
You mean a chance?
Uh-huh.
I am.
I know I am. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to a series that deals a little bit more with the politics of stuff. I'm ready for it. I am. We'll see.
I'm sorry, I have a meme I'm trying to find to put in the chat room, and I don't remember what I titled it. And this is the problem. At the time I titled it something that I think, oh, well, if I want that meme, I'll just know where to look. And then when it comes down to looking for it, I can't.
I'm going to watch it burn. That's the Klingon thing to do. But I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. I love it. I'm excited. But yeah.
Sorry, Kurtzman's quote is, the story that we have for season 1 is really interesting and special, and I think pays tribute to a lot of what Trek has done, and in many ways is doing in a new way. To have Sonequa and Michelle Yeoh as captains, sick of our ship, meaning captain. Interesting.
She's first officer, yeah.
Of our ship is really, really exciting and different. I love stories that are based around strong women, and we have some very strong women on that show. Having Sonequa, she's a very special, very, very special actress, bringing a flavor to the character that I feel like I haven't actually seen in Trek, and that's really exciting. Her story is very unique and draws on some really some really interesting things in Trek lore. I think fans will both appreciate, and I'm certain her story will be the cause of much debate. And then he says he also spoke of the weighty issues of Star Trek canon fitting the story into the franchise's vast history. So you got a room full of people with very different and very devoted relationships to Star Trek in that writer's room. And I think that carries on a pretty proud tradition of Trek being written by fans. You have to respect canon as it's been written. You know, you can't say that never happened. Star Trek fans will kill you. And he laughed. You have to understand the timelines and what's different, what the different timelines were, and what the different universes were, how they all work together. You have to keep very meticulous track of who, when, where, and why. And we have people in the room whose sole job is to say, no, you can't do that. If you're a fan of Trek, you're going to see a lot of things that harken back to the original series and elements of the original series. And I'm not just talking plot, I mean the spirit of what that show was. We're going to be revisiting a couple of things on Discovery that I think people will find familiar. Without spoiling anything, I think we are adhering to a timeline and sticking to the rules, but also finding some new areas and avenues of exploration that have only been alluded to and never fully explored. Yeah. So, again, to me, that just makes me happy. I'm looking forward to it.
You know it's going to ignite a whole new debate among the idiot class of true fan.
I have to say I've done a lot of growing up since I've come across, my Star Trek fandom again, because I was a purist. I even called myself a Canonite, right? I was a purist. Especially when you're first, it's harder when you're a TNG fan. It is. It's just harder when you're a TNG fan, because TNG is the most optimistic, less politically involved, more about exploration and more about exploration of humanity through the eyes of a different species. It really didn't have anything to do with political ramifications or any kind of pain or suffering or anything like that on an overt level. So if you're a 7-year TNG fan like I was, trying to come to grips with something as completely opposite as it was, like DS9, and then letting it move on and move forward and evolve from that point on, is a very difficult thing to do for a fan. I'm lucky in that I found, believe it or not, what changed my mind about a lot of shit was actually Enterprise. Enterprise was the first show we watched all the way through after my rebirth of my fandom. And it allowed me to deal with DS9 on a better level, I think. And if it had been the other way around, I think I would hate DS9 more. But it was Enterprise that I absolutely loved that I loved. And I still do. And I hope that I can give Discovery the same open-mindedness that I did about Enterprise when I watched it. And there. So, yeah.
I just put in the chat room for the true fan people.
So it took me a lot. I hated, me, it's like I was very, very, and I still am, that there's still only one book that I really just I'll never pick up and read again. But other than that, it's also the books too. And you know what it was? It was fucking Vanguard. It was the Vanguard series. The Vanguard series gave me a deeper appreciation for the original series than I ever would have before, because I got to see kind of what the world might be like outside the Enterprise. And I loved it. I thought it was fun. And it was very, very not Star Trek in that classic form. It was and it wasn't. We got into the political intrigue. Oh my gosh, did we get into the political intrigue of shit? And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And then I realized, oh my God, I need that in my Star Trek. I like it. So that's what I'm looking forward to in Discovery.
Vanguard was the Tabasco sauce for Terry, if you will.
Oh, I would say it was more like my soy sauce. Made things salty.
Mike?
Yes?
Do we have anything from Ross this week?
Not that I saw this morning, although I've been having email troubles most of the day yesterday. So
Yeah.
no.
Short answer.
Check out Live Love Play. iLiveLovePlay.com. Check them out on Twitch and YouTube, and he's on Patreon, where exclusive stuff shows up. And Lego Dimensions, or
I was gonna say, what's going on with Big Dude, Little Dude?
Lego Adventures of Big Dude and Little Dude. Episode 3 is out. I think episode 4 should be out next week. we haven't recorded much, sadly, this week. It's this week, little dude is engrossed with Lego Worlds and Lego City, 2 new games I got them this week. So they have been ankle deep in that. I mean, oh man, they love those 2 games. So we're gonna work them into the rotation at some point. But they're familiarizing themselves with those 2 games, so there hasn't been anything new recorded. Yeah, it's coming. Son asks about Straight Outta Gallifrey. Apparently, we're going to be ramping up for a new episode or 2 or something. Everyone is getting familiar rewatching the latest season of Doctor Who, just to get it fresh into our minds. So
I really enjoyed watching the reaction videos of the end of the last season, so I thought that was pretty fun.
So Terry, you have not seen that video of that girl watching the end of Rogue One, right?
Oh no, I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was adorable.
Oh my God, I couldn't. I watched it like 5 times in a row.
A couple of real quick things that I wanted to touch on before we said goodbye. One of the products that just got announced this week is from one of my favorites. It's La La Land Records. And for those who do not know, they're actually taking a pre-order for the Star Trek The Motion Picture soundtrack, but it's a double vinyl. It's a vinyl. But you guys have to see this thing. It's pretty fucking amazing. So I'm going to put the picture in the chat room. Add file.
Oh my God, somebody just sent me something, and I'm going to share it in the chat room.
Okay, hold on. Let me do mine first.
Oh my God.
All right. So this is the double vinyl album that you can get through La La Land Records. It's a limited edition of 1,500 units. It's a double LP with a 12-page booklet, and it's colored vinyl with the Starfleet Delta in the middle, of TOS Delta in the middle of it. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous package. It's $34, you guys. Again, you can pre-order at La La Land Records. I highly recommend their stuff. I have many of their productions, which are it's just great. So, and these are the original recordings. It's not like these are like the Prague Philharmonic. This is the original recordings. La La Land Records gets their access to this, and I highly recommend it. But if you're a vinyl fan, dude, you gotta get on top of that.
When I come across it, I had messaged Jim Ferris immediately, and I said, "Wouldn't these look great on your
right?
tables?"
Aren't they beautiful?
Mm-hmm. So he agreed.
And then to answer our question, the second season of Genius is about Picasso.
That's right. I don't know why I thought it was well, the first season not only dealt with Einstein, but it looked at a lot of his contemporaries, including his wife, and so you had Madame Curie, you had all of these people, Planck and others that were around in the same area. So you got to see, it's not just a strict look at one person. You're seeing their contemporaries as well. So
cool.
Can't speak. I'm so
Oh, you're tired. You've had a heck of a night.
No, somebody sent this to me. Now, I want you to realize I didn't make this. I don't endorse it, but God damn it, made me laugh.
God, it's gonna be foul. Yeah, that's fucked up.
It's the damn it that's making me laugh.
You're such a dick.
Damn it.
Oh my God. No, I'm not going to describe what's in the meme that Nick posted in the chat room.
You don't know the things people send me. You really
trust
don't.
me. No, I have an absolute wonderful idea of what people send you.
And I'll tell you, Dayton and I go back and forth.
Yeah, I know. There are some things that, if they're so offensive, you gotta laugh at them. I'm sorry, there is. Okay, what was it? I think that was it. There might have been one more link I wanted to touch on real quick, Mike. You sent some amazing shit. Oh yeah. Speaking of arguments regarding geekdom, there was just real quick in the news. Everybody saw that there was a fight, an assault that broke out between two people fighting over Star Trek and Star Wars, and the guy got arrested. Oh my God, it's too funny.
So stupid.
Yeah.
It is so stupid.
Everybody knows Star Trek is better.
We're pretty much gonna end the show by going, you guys, it's a fucking TV show. Don't fight over it. It's a movie. Don't fight over it. So at the end of we will be happy to take hints about what we should title this show, so Mike may not have to work so hard.
Sun had one. What was it? Villains are doing it wrong, or what was it?
I like that.
Yeah,
one.
that's what she had posted, but I'm not sure how I would have to work that.
How about just they're doing it wrong?
See, the thing is that to SEO, Mike does this big blog, right? That beautifully written blog that he does.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
It's beautifully written blog where you go through you go through everything that pretty much we go through the 2 hours of show that we have. And in that, there are keywords that he needs to, and the keywords in this have to attach to the title. So whatever we put in the title, Mike has to kind of put in the blog
100 times.
100 times without being
obvious,
so overt. So we want to make it easy for Mike to write, and there you have it. But I think that something along the line is evil is as evil does. I like that one. Oh well. The word evil, just one word, just one.
And that will get that will bury our link in a couple billion hits, I'm sure.
Exactly.
So
it has to be a unique word, correct?
Yeah, something that doesn't have a billion hits, and which is what makes it so hard. It's because, like we were talking about villains, which are going to have a couple 100 million hits. Evil's going to have a couple 100 million hits. So it's like trying to find something that hasn't been used to death is the challenge. And that's what it is. It's a challenge, a writing challenge, unlike any other.
Unlike any other you have to deal with.
Klingons dishonor. Hold on, I'm getting there. Klingons dishonor. Sun's hideous meme.
No. The perspective of evil.
Perspective. Look at her, Mike.
And sadly, there are things like stop words. So,
what's a stop word?
Of, the, a, and.
Oh. Of the
evil perspective.
That might be doable. I'll have to run checks.
Keep going. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Next week's show will be on the 16th, and
that's not too bad. 15.4 million hits for evil perspectives.
Wow.
So if you've got an idea on how you might be able to help Mike, we'll take those hints. You can send us a message. Go to our Facebook page. Just put the note in there. You can post on our Facebook page. Or you can email us at hosts.
Evolutionary perspective.
What was it?
Evolutionary perspective.
I see what you did there.
That's an interesting title.
I like it. Very cool.
You've
got ideas.
That's the problem, though.
Any feedback, you can hand us over on the right-hand side of our website, which is gntshow.com. You can send us a voicemail. Please understand that if you do leave us a voicemail, it's very likely and possible that we will actually play the voicemail on the air. So by doing it, you give us the permission to do so. And if you have
we
any
will also
questions
make you sign a totally non-enforceable NDA.
And if you have... And if you have any feedback or questions, or if you still want to send a question to Dayton Ward, I think he has a couple in the pocket though. You can send those to hosts@gntshow.com. You can follow me on Twitter at TerryLynn S. That's TerryLynns as in Sam. Mike, where can they follow you?
On the internet.
I love it. It's at Soridium, STO. It's SORIEDEM, correct? STO?
I think so.
Okay, and Nick, where can they follow you?
What is going on with Mike?
He's just cracking up.
At Gettysburg 7. Mike, that's interesting that it doesn't allow for creativity.
Yeah, I had searched for evolutionary perspective, and it found 4.2 million hits, but and then it's suggested evolutionary because of typo. They're assuming it's a typo, so it's like So we get dinged for it being a typo, or Google thinking it's a typo.
Yeah. J is for Janai.
That's right.
Yep.
By the way, once again, congrats to Oliver Smith on your graduation and new job as a game designer. And
Oh, yes.
owner of a
Right on.
game
Congratulations.
company. I'm loving it.
There was somebody I wanted to congratulate for something, and I can't remember. Star Trek Junkie, get well. I saw your stitches are out.
Oh my God.
Such a mess. But thinking of you and love you.
And join us next
Hi,
week for
Moogie.
episode 287.
Moogie.
That does it for today. Today was July 9th, 2017 for Michael Hinman, and we will talk to you next week. Until then, live long and
What
prosper.
episode was this?
286.
Gobla.
Oh, you stopped him up. He saw titties and he went crazy.
I don't like that. That's horrible. I really don't like that. That's
quirking
disturbing.
alien.
It's disturbing.
Or excuse me,
Jolan
it's a predator.
True disturbed the listeners.
Bye.
GNT 286.
Music for the GNT show is provided by 5 Year Mission, Enterprise Blues Band, Warp 11, Andrew Allen, and Rathor. The GNT show is a BLB production.
Move ahead, walk back to 10. Put a mini skirt on Mayo Man. Represent the human race. And we make space a happy place. To boldly go where no man's gone before. I think I sang that line once before, but I'm not too sure. We'll be so happy, can't you see? A zero-G community. Gonna travel to new worlds. Beam on down and meet some green girls. Gonna see what we can see. A fancy-free galaxy. To boldly go where no man's gone before. I think I sang that line once before, but I'm not too sure. We'll be so happy, can't you see? A zero-G community. Come and take a tour with me. There'll be no cons or Kobayashi. Gonna travel to the end and make new friends with aliens. To boldly go where no man's gone before. Space heavy. I think I sang that line once before, but I'm not too sure. We'll be so happy, can't you see? A zero-G community. To boldly go where no man's gone before. Space happy. I think I sang that line once before, but I'm not too sure. We'll be so happy, can't you see? A zero-G